Hello everyone, welcome back to Bards and Books. I'm Usman, and today we are doing a review. This is for Towers of Midnight, Book 13 in the Wheel of Time. I'm going to do a bit of a spoiler-free at the beginning, and then afterwards I'm going to get into spoilers. It's really tough to talk about the books at this point without doing spoilers, so this is actually a bit of a step down overall from the previous book, The Gathering Storm, and a lot of that has to do with the pacing in this one. For nearly the first half, the pacing is very slow and tedious and reminiscent of some of the older Wheel of Time books. But once it started to pick up, it was once again very enjoyable. Now, the structure in this one is actually very different from a lot of the previous books. It was very jumpy in terms of the POV. Like, pretty much in every single chapter, we have multiple POVs. We're just jumping around to basically all of our main characters, and they're all in this one. So unlike the previous ones where you get a few and then the next book you get a few, they're pretty much all in this one, so I can understand the constant POV hopping. It was a nice change of pace there, but it also proved a little difficult for thought processing because, we keep jumping around too much. So there isn't too much more spoiler-free stuff I can say here. I'm just glad that Elaine and Perrin are not insufferable and frustrating to deal with. They're actually decent in this one. They're all the characters here are decent. There wasn't really a lot of those moments that we got in the previous books where we're just, tired of a character or what have you. So that was really nice. Other than that, I'm really enjoying how they've all basically settled into their roles at this point. They're high status roles. They've come into their own. They're all basically leaders of nations and whatnot, and watching their dynamic, like dealing with each other, is very interesting because they're no longer like the friends that they were or whatever. It's no longer that kind of dynamic. It's more formal, less friendly, I guess, in a sense. And it's just interesting seeing the bit of discomfort there when they deal with each other now, No longer are they close friends like that. It's very formal, very uncomfortable at times. And it's just interesting, and it'll be very interesting to see how the last book wraps everything up. But anyways, that's it for spoiler-free. I'm going to get into spoilers now, so if you don't want spoilers, I'd probably dip at this point. Thanks for sticking around. But let's get into spoilers. So let's start with Rand. Rand was the most interesting in this one because of the state of Zen or the enlightenment that he reached from the last one. That was cool. So watching him interact with people is, he's basically like, he's come into his own. He's purely the Dragon Reborn now, and nobody can give him crap, especially Cad Swain. There were just some moments where I feel like she needed to back off a bit. It's understandable, all their choices and what they're doing, because he's an important guy and they all kind of want to make sure he is led down the right path and makes the right choices. But it's just, I feel so bad for Rand. So it's nice that he's taken a charge now. Like he's his own guy. Nobody's gonna tell him what to do. Nobody's gonna push him around, and he's basically just at peace with himself and his fate, I guess. So that was cool. Now let's get to Perrin. Perrin's cool. Like I said, he started off as my favorite character with the whole wolf thing, but in this one especially, he's a little boring, for me at least. I just find that his whole, lawfully good, pure, always wanting to do the right thing kind of thing, that persona is just kind of boring. I mean, when you have characters that are just too good and too pure and always want to do the right thing, even if it's a detriment to them, like a big detriment, it just gets a little boring. I mean, I guess I just like more gray characters maybe, but yeah, he's just, I don't know. It's cool to see someone like that. It's always heartwarming to see someone who's that pure and that kind. But it just makes for a little bit of boring reading. That's just me personally. It also didn't help that he had the most page time, and most of the page time, like I said at the beginning, were the tedious moments of him just dealing with his camp and I guess the White Cloaks, and that whole trial sequence was a little odd. I mean, it was a little tedious with the White Cloaks and Galad and that thing. I don't know. It seemed like we were just trying to fill in page time or something. It wasn't the most enjoyable. What was enjoyable was his wolf dream sequences. That was really cool. I enjoyed seeing him deal with Hopper or like get training from Hopper and kind of master the wolf dream. That was really cool. It was so cool watching him run into Egwene in there and basically show her up, I guess, in that sense. That was really cool. The whole thing with Slayer is really interesting. I want to see how that wraps up. But yeah, Perrin, a lot better. You know, Perrin was a huge step up in this one, so I'm glad that was the case. I'm glad he wasn't as annoying as the previous books. So let's get to Matt. Matt has been cool throughout. What can I really say about Matt other than I'm glad he has finally completed his transformation into the Allfather, Odin. I mean, really, it's very obvious where the inspirations are from in that sense. He's the Prince of Ravens, for Christ's sake. He was hung from a tree, right? He lost his eye now. I mean, he's basically Odin, which is cool. I like Odin. I like Norse mythology. That was really cool, interesting. Very interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how his whole arc wraps up, I guess, if he ends up with Tuon and goes to the Seanchan or Shanchan. Is it Seanchan or Shanchan? Shanchan land. See if he stays there with Tuon. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with the Shanchan because at this point, you know, they're everybody's nemesis except for maybe Matt because of his whole, you know, him and Tuon. But everybody basically hates him at this point. It's going to be interesting to see how that kind of resolves, I guess. Now, if we're talking about the most interesting character in this book, for me, that would have to be Gawain. Gawain just goes through some very relatable stuff in this. I mean, he's a formidable guy. He's got a lot of skill, but at the same time, he's just head over heels for Egwene, which is understandable, right? We've all been there. But Egwene is the Amyrlin, and she's, you know, she has shit to do. She has stuff to deal with. She's an important figure, and he just kind of finds himself not really high on her radar at the moment, I guess. So that was a little frustrating for him. I kind of felt for him. But yeah, good for Gawain in the end. I'm glad he got what he deserved. And it'll be interesting seeing how, or if he deals with Rand or comes face to face with Rand in the last book, if that happens. Anyways, the last character I want to touch on here is Lan. Lan easily has the most badass storyline in this series. The dude's like the lost king of you know, the borderland Malkiri, and just watching him like kind of ride off on his own to confront the Dark One or face the horde of Trollocs. That was just so badass, you know, and having people join him along the way, and he basically amasses this army. I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't read like the Lord of the Rings, or I'm not familiar with a lot of the other kind of lore, but I feel like it's heavily inspired from maybe some stuff in Lord of the Rings, like the whole Aragorn bit and the Return of the King. I'm assuming that's what it's inspired from. It's badass. I mean, I haven't read the books, I've only seen the movies, but that's what it kind of seemed like. Let me know if I'm right or wrong in the comments, but I mean, still, super badass. Lan's always been badass, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that wraps up in the last book and what becomes of him and Nynaeve, I guess. But that's really it. That's all I can touch on in this book. I mean, it's not much else to say. We're coming to a head here, you know, one more book left. I can't wait to find out what happens, and yeah, that'll be a whole other review there, and we'll see. We'll see if I bawl my eyes out or anything like that. I've heard it's, you know, very touching and heartbreaking, and people just feel lost when they've wrapped up the series. They're like, where do I go from here, you know? But anyways, we'll see what comes of that. Just two more things I wanted to touch on really quickly, and I need your input for that. I need to know. I need help with this because it didn't really strike me as an interesting twist or what have you. The whole thing with Noel, when Matt, Tom, and Noel went to save Moraine, and Noel turning out to be Jane Farstrider, that just seemed a little anticlimactic to me. I didn't see it coming, first of all. I didn't, you know, it was a surprise, but it just I don't know, it didn't really grip me, or I was just like, oh, okay, well, that's cool, I guess. I mean, is that a hot take? Is that unpopular? Let me know. Let me know if it struck you as awesome or really surprised you. For me, it was, yeah, anticlimactic, like I said. Other than that, Moiraine and Tom, really? Did anyone else see that coming? Where can someone just let me know where, if I missed it, where in the previous books that was hinted at? Because the whole Moiraine and Tom thing is just weird. I don't know. It was odd. It just came out of left field, and it just felt like it wasn't really warranted. I don't know. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Yeah, those 2 points just it didn't really do it for me. I gave this book 3.5 stars overall. So, yeah, a bit of a step down from the previous book, but it was still cool. I still enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it wraps up in A Memory of Light. I'm going to be getting to that very, very soon. I'll be reading it in June, which is this month, so yeah, we'll see. Anyways, that's all I have. Yeah, let me know if you agree with some of those hot takes there, or what your take was on this book, or some of the aspects that I touched on. Feel free to like the video if you liked it and subscribe to the channel. I will absolutely be doing a review for A Memory of Light and wrapping up the series, maybe doing a video or giving my thoughts on the series overall. We'll see. But anyways, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and I will see you next time.